morning. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful day outside. It's a wonderful time to get outside and learn how to ride a bike or help in the garden. Any way to get outside and enjoy the sunshine is perfect. And you can spend some quality time with your guardians, your parents as well. Okay, so before we do that, we are going to read this book about a mother and a daughter, and this daughter does all these crazy things, and the mom stays really, really calm, and then something happens at the end. So because I thought, my students are home with their parents or their guardians all the time, and I really thought this would be a great book for mom and dad and uncle and aunt, whoever's watching you, to watch with you if you've never read the book before. So this is one of my favorites, and my mom used to read it to me all the time. It is called Harriet, You'll Drive Me Wild. I bet some of our parents have told us that before, or something similar. All right, so let's get started. Harriet Harris was a pesky child. She didn't mean to be, she just was. One morning at breakfast, she knocked over a glass of juice, just like that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child." "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. At snack time, she dribbled jam all over her jeans, just like that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child, Harriet, you'll drive me wild." "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. Before lunch, when Harriet was painting a picture, she dripped paint onto the carpet, just like that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child, Harriet, you'll drive me wild. Harriet, sweetheart, what are we to do?" "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. At lunch, Harriet slid off her chair and the tablecloth came with her, just like that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child, Harriet, you'll drive me wild. Harriet, sweetheart, what are we to do? Harriet Harris, I'm talking to you." "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. Later that afternoon, when Harriet was meant to be napping, she ripped open a pillow just like that. 1,000 feathers flew in every direction. There was a terrible silence. All right, can you pause the video and make a prediction? What do you think is going to happen? What is Harriet's mother going to do? Let's find out. Then Harriet's mother began to yell. She yelled and yelled and yelled. Is that what you had predicted? "I'm sorry," Harriet cried. "I'm really, really sorry." Her mother took a deep breath. "I know you are," she said, hugging Harriet tight. "I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have yelled, and I wish I hadn't, but sometimes it happens just like that." big mess," Harriet said. "A very big mess," said her mother, and she started to laugh. And they laughed and went on laughing as they picked up the feathers together. So I really hope that you enjoyed this book by Miss Fox. She is a wonderful author, and I love all of her books that she's written. All right, so your question for today is, what did Harriet do in the story to drive her mother wild? And when you've written it, I want you to send me a picture so I can see your responses. Bye, have a great day, and don't drive your parents wild.